We're on page Yud of the Daas Tevunos, and we're talking about the Gilui HaYichud. The Daas Tevunos is a dialogue between a neshama and the seichel. The neshama said to the seichel, I believe in the Yud Gimel Ani Mamins. I believe in them, absolutely, Ani Mamin. 9 of them I understand. 4 of them are in Emunah, but I don't understand them. And the 4 that I don't understand are Hashgacha, that God's supervising the world every moment, every millionth of a moment. Nothing happens unless he wants it to happen. He's constantly supervising the world, everything. The next thing I don't understand, although I believe, is Schar V'Onish, reward and punishment. The 3rd thing is Bias Mashiach, and the 4th thing is Tchias HaMesim. And the Neshama says, I don't understand these things because the world doesn't seem to be running according to those 4 things. Well, I believe in them because the Rebbeinu Shalom told this to Moshe, and Moshe taught it to Yoshua, and it came down to us through Masorah. Absolutely believe in these things, but it doesn't look like the world is actually running that way. And the Ramchal started off with the Yesod Asher Alav Nivna Kol Habinyan. The principle upon which all of this is built is that the Rebbeinu Shalom created a perfectly imperfect world so that we can join in and be partners with the Rebbeinu Shalom in perfecting the world. And by joining in to perfect the world, by making the right decisions through Bechira, we become Shleimim, we perfect ourselves, and therefore we perfect the world. And because of that effort at perfecting ourselves and perfecting the world, we have now Zechus and Schar. That's our Schar. We're better people. But because we become better people by becoming more perfect people, we now have this entry card to go to Olam Haba, to be Nana Misef Hashchina. And the ultimate purpose of the world, which he originally said, was Lehetiv. God wanted to bestow perfect good on people. God's the ultimate in perfection that we can't even imagine. And to bestow the ultimate good on people, the ultimate good means that people will have earned that which they will earn their reward. It won't be given out as free lollipops. And to be able to earn it, God had to create a system where there are do's and don'ts. And if you do the do's and you don'ts the don'ts, and you don't reverse that, then you made the right choices. By making the right choices, you perfect yourself. So this is, and by perfecting yourself, God can bestow good upon you through a process by which you earned it through your correct decisions. So that was the premise we were working on until now, that the tachlis of the Bria, the purpose of the Bria was to be mativ, so that God would be able to bestow good on creation. We mentioned that now we're going to go into Gilui HaYichud, which is on page Yud. And the Ramchal now talks about this as the foundation of all creation, the Gilui HaYichud, which have led some to ask, well, what is the ultimate purpose in creation? Is so that God can bestow good, or is it for this thing called Gilui HaYichud, which we'll see in a moment? Which one is the real ultimate purpose of creation? When we spoke about this last week, we said that there's a purpose and there's a system, and that's what we can use temporarily to understand this. The purpose, the ultimate purpose of creation is Gilui HaYichud, to reveal God's uniqueness. The system that was created in order to accomplish this purpose of Gilui HaYichud was a system of Hatova, where God can bestow good on people through their choices, through perfecting themselves, and then God can bestow good on people. And the purpose of bestowing that good is the Gilui HaYichud. So that's where we're going to leave this apparent contradiction, but it's not a contradiction, but people have questioned this. Or Friedlander wrote an essay about this, but that's how we're going to proceed temporarily. The purpose of creation is the Gilui HaYichud. That's the purpose of the whole creation, to reveal God's uniqueness. The system created in order to accomplish that purpose is a system of Hatava, where God bestows good on us. Gilui HaYichud, page Yud. Amar HaSeichel, the Seichel said to the Neshama, Ata k'shenoven elibeinu kol sidvei ma'isa v'sparach, kol ha'ma'isa ha'gadol asher osa minisim odam alei eretz, v'chol asher v'tich lanu lasos ha'yidei nevi'ev ha'kdoshim, That's a big sentence. Every event from the time of creation, all historical events, all of history, and all of that's happening in the present, and all that's been prophesied to happen in the future. In other words, the whole past, all the present, and the future have only one purpose, and that's to reveal Otzem Yehudai Yisparach, the enormous, the powerful, the awesomeness of God's uniqueness. V'tiri shekol shar hamayla shlemusei habilti balas tachlis einim misparim etzleinu klal she'ein banu karach lahasig oso. And this we talked about last week, and we'll talk a little about it again today because it's such a basic, necessary concept that people do not understand. We know nothing about God's actual existence, about his essence. We know nothing about him. What we do is we infer backwards. Because God does something, we say, oh, if this happened, it happened because God wanted to do this, and therefore God is capable of doing X, Y, Z. We don't know God does X, Y, Z until we see it, and then we say, oh, God does this. So for example, Derech Moshe, Yadanu Shu Chacham. We know that God's the ultimate in wisdom. But there's no way to understand the full breadth, the full depth of God's wisdom. What can you possibly say? If you open the discussion as we spoke last week and you say, God is so smart, he's so wise, he's unbelievable. Okay, describe to me his wisdom. What's his IQ? 500, 800, what's the IQ? He's 100,000 Moshe Rabbeinu in Seichel. You can't even talk. It's also to talk like this. So when you want to describe God in a positive sense, I want to tell you how powerful he is. I want to tell you how smart he is. You can't talk like that because whatever you're going to say is going to detract. Yadanu Shu Yodeya. We know that God knows everything. Well, he's talking with the Yosef, but there's no way to grasp what that means, that he knows everything that there is to know. There's nothing that he doesn't know. Whatever's going to, someone's getting Machadish or Chiddush today, God knew it already. Someone's going to invent some kind of technology today, God knew about it already. Right? There are people that come to the world and God designates them, as we learned in the Rav Kook last week about Bori Miori or H. There are people that come to the world and they have tasks in the world. People come to the world and God says, this is the person, he's being born into a specific time and he's going to bring windows to the world. Okay? God does this. These things were known to God, and God decides when these things have to be brought into the world and by who. So God knows everything, but we have no understanding of what it means that God knows everything. We can just say those words, but we don't understand what it means that God knows everything that ever happened, that is happening, and that will happen. Valkain Omuzal, and therefore we have been taught in Tikkunei Zoyar, for those people who say Pasach Eliyahu before davening. In the Pasach Eliyahu Hanavi says, Antu Chakim, you are wise, V'lav b'chachma yediyah, but your wisdom doesn't come from Chacham. Now try to understand that. When we say a person is wise, we say he's a Chacham. How is he a Chacham? Because he has a lot of Chacham. But the Rabbanu Shalom is a Chacham, but not through Chacham. And we explained this last week. A person has external sources. How do you become smart? You become smart because you listen to a shiur. You become smart because you read a book. You become smart because you have an experience. And therefore you internalize what you read. You internalize the shiur. You internalize the experience. And your brain turns that into chachma. Our chachma, for the very, very great part, is external and then internalized. That's called chachma. That's called acquired wisdom. God doesn't have acquired wisdom. He's not learning on the job. As he gets older, which he doesn't age, but just to use that word, chas v'shalom, as the world gets older, God's not becoming a better God. He's not getting better at the job because he's learning more. As the world goes on and different things happen, he's getting better at managing and supervising the world, chas v'shalom, because all the wisdom needed to run the world, past, present, future, is there, and it's always been there. It's not getting better, it's not increasing. So it's internal knowledge that was always there and is not improved upon by acquiring external knowledge. We don't know what that means. Antu Maven, God is understanding. V'lav babina yediyah. But his understanding doesn't come from what we call bina. There's chachma, bina, das. A person has a capacity in his brain to understand things. Maven dover mitok dover. You tell him one thing, from there he can deduce a second thing. God doesn't learn that way through the powers of deduction. He doesn't do that. He doesn't need that. He knows all that there needs to be known before he goes through logical deductions. So he's a maven v'la babin yediyah. Since we can't fully comprehend these milas of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm avoiding the term character traits because God doesn't have any character traits, but we can't fully comprehend or even begin to comprehend these milas of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Therefore, it is absolutely forbidden to delve into it. It is impossible, it is prohibited for a person to say, I want to spend a couple of hours thinking about what God's knowledge is. I want to try to understand God's understanding. What makes up God's understanding? You're not even delve into this subject. On this kind of thinking, we are taught, Gemara in Chagiga Yud Gimel, b'mufla mimcha al tidrash b'machus mimcha al tachkar. There are things that are beyond your pay scale, and that's that which is beyond your pay scale. Al tidrosh, don't even go into it. You have no permission to go into it. B'machus mimcha, things that are covered and hidden from you. Al tachkar, don't delve into it. These are prohibitions. V'chein amru, and we're also taught imrotz libcha, if your heart is running. You have this passion. I want to know more about God, more about God, more about God. I'm going to go into this and into this. Shuv lamokum. Take a step back and make sure you're not crossing a border you're not allowed to cross. We're on page Yud Aleph. Avol yichudai, but God's uniqueness, adarabah, just the opposite. Zem misgala umisbar lanu birugamu. That can absolutely be looked into, studied, and understood at a certain level. Before we go any further in the Ramchal itself, let's take a look at our Friedlander's footnote 14 at the bottom of page Aleph, the bottom of page 11. The Friedlander has footnote 14. Our Friedlander says as follows: Kedei lahavin lamoshel as midas hachachma. If you want to fully understand what it means that God is a chacham, oh hachesed, or you want to understand what is God, what is God's midas hachesed, what is his benevolence? Tell me how benevolent he is. Tell me how smart he is. Tell me about his wisdom. Tzarich lahasbira al yedei hagedora shel chiyuv. You have to tell me something positive. It has to be positive information. He's so smart, his IQ is 500. That's a positive statement. He's so smart, he's 1,000 Moshe Rabbeinus. He's 5,000 Shlomo HaMelechs. I'm making a positive statement. I'm trying to explain to you how wise God is. You know how much chesed he does? He does 1,000,000 times more chesed than the biggest chesed organization in Eretz Yisrael. You're not allowed to do that, but that becomes a definition. I'm trying to define in a positive statement what is the chokmah and what is the chesed or what is the gevura. How powerful is he? He's 100 million nuclear weapons. He can, when he wants to, he can drop 100 million nuclear weapons. You're not allowed to do that. But that's the attempt to make a positive statement to define gevura. So therefore, Friedlander says, to do this, you have to talk about a hagdora shel chiyuv, a positive aspect, if you're going to explain this. Dahainu lahagdir es hayesh, es metzias hachokma chesed. You have to define what you're talking about. You want to define chokma as it exists, tell me what it is. You want to define chesed as it exists, tell me what it is. And that we can't do. Lakach kivan shechokmosei v'chazdo yizbor hein sham midois of hein beli gavul. And since HaKadosh Baruch Hu's midos, chachma, bina, all the midos, whatever we can associate with God, They have no gevul. They're boundless. A person's chachma is limited. A person's gevura is limited. A person's chesed is limited. A person is a mugbal. Everything about a human being is mugbal. It's limited. There's nothing about God that's limited. Therefore, the limited human being can't talk about the unlimited, the Ein Sof God. So you can't talk about it at all, because Chas V'Shalom, you would detract from God. Ulam, however, there's one exception to this rule. To understand God's uniqueness, I don't need to make a positive statement. It's a negative statement. I know that God's a chacham, but he's so unique that I can't say anything about it. It's a negative statement. The hagdara chiyuvi, the positive statement, is God is so smart, this is how smart he is. That's a positive statement. We can't do that. Therefore, we can't talk about God's chachma. We can't talk about God's gevura. We can't talk about God's chesed. We can say God does chesed, but we can't talk about and discuss how much chesed, how big a Baal chesed is, how much gevura does he have. Off-limit discussion. But I'm allowed to talk the negative side of this discussion, the flip side. He's a chacham. How much of a chacham? I don't know, because his chacham is so unique, because he knows everything that was, is, and will be, and that itself is an understatement of what he knows. Human being acquires knowledge from external sources. God never acquired knowledge, all internal. I don't know what that means, but that's a fact. And therefore, God's completely different than anything else. It's all internal. So his uniqueness is premised on a negative statement. He's a chacham, and I don't know what that means, because there's no one like him. It's an attempt to explain that which you can't understand. In the positive sense, you want to explain, I understand this. I want to tell you how much God knows. I want to tell you something about God's chachma. I understand God's chachma, and therefore I can put into positive terms. You can't. The only thing you can do is put into the negative terms. I can't understand it because he's so unique. The geder, the concept of yichud, is that there's nothing, no one ever will be like him. Therefore, the yichud, this concept of yichud, this uniqueness, gilui hayichud, the revelation of God's uniqueness. Nobody ever will be, nobody ever was, nobody ever will be the kind of chacham that he is. Why? I don't know, because his chachma is so unique that we can't even understand it. Why can't a person be a gibor like God? Because man can do this, but God, his gevura is much greater. How much greater? I don't know. I can't even talk about it. That's called a person understanding at least a basic level the yichud, the uniqueness of God. And therefore, because God is so unique in his existence, nobody runs the world except him. Nobody supervises the world except him. No one can stop him from doing what he wants. Those are the last words in the Rav Friedler footnote, which Ramchal will discuss. This concept of yichud is one of the central themes in all the sforim that the Ramchal wrote. Yichud. Person needs to understand yichud. It's not that just that there's God and there's not a second God, chas v'shalom. It's more deeper than that. I already believe in one God. And I already believe that the one God is not made up of component parts. He's not a murkav. But now you have to believe that this one God is so unique, you can't even talk about him because you don't know what his chacham is, you don't know what his gevur is, you don't know what his chesed is. And it's this uniqueness about God that is, as you go back to page Yud, the Yesod HaBriya. It's the foundation upon which the Bria rests. And when this becomes revealed, as people reveal the yichud to themselves and learn this by themselves or with others, and begin to understand what yichud means as we go further into the Sefer, and this is then, this concept becomes more and more known to more and more people, that will be called the revelation to the world of the yichud, and that's when the world will come to its tachlis. When the world comes to its tachlis, to its ultimate purpose, Mashiach comes. The world has fulfilled its purpose. And now we move on to the next phase, which we call Mashiach. But first we need to fulfill the purpose, the Tachlis HaBriya. The Tachlis HaBriya is the revelation of this Yichud. Friedlander continues, L'chein musig zeh shel shlila anu yecholim v'chayovim lahavnes me'usei beberu. Therefore, this negative concept that God is unique and no one is like him, that we can begin to talk about. And the more we learn about it, we can understand that. And we're required to understand that. We say that 3 times a day in Aleinu. So usually we say, Ein Od, there's no other God. There's no other God. There's no 2 gods, only one. Okay. Ein Od has a new meaning for us. And you should know that there's a God in heaven and a God on earth. And Ein Od, there's no one like him. Not just that there's not a second God, there's no one like him. He is the most unique thing, whatever we can call him. He's the most unique existence, if we can call that. He is the most unique existence in the entire universe. There is nothing like him, not in Chochmah, not in Gevurah, not in Chesed, nothing. And I can't even talk about it because he's so unique. Ein Od. And as we say, Aleinu, 3 times a day, we say that Pasuk, V'yadata Yoim, Kashem Elokim B'Shemayim Ma'al V'lo T'as Ein Od. We can think about there's no second God, that's fine. And think about that there's nobody like God. There's absolute yichud, there's absolute uniqueness. And we think about this and we delve further into this as we learn these svarim, we reveal the yichud. And when we reveal the yichud, we're taking every moment we reveal the yichud to ourselves, to others, and to the world. We bring about the ultimate purpose of the world. And then when the ultimate purpose of the world is accomplished, we can move into a greater world through Mashiach. And this we are mechuyev, Friedlander says, to understand this yichud. Okay, Blineda, tomorrow morning we'll pick up with next Mishnah Masechta Midos. We'll continue the Daas Tevunos about the Gilui HaYichud. And at some point when we're involved in the Gilui HaYichud, we'll go to part of Friedlander's essay about what is the real purpose of the world. Is it lehetiv, which the Ramchal started the Daas Tevunos with? God wants to bestow goodness on the Bria. Or is it the Gilui HaYichud? Is the purpose of the world to reveal God's uniqueness? There is no steer, there's no contradiction. Those Jews who need Refuah Shalema shall have Refuah Shalema. Those Jews who need Nechama shall have Nechama. Those Jews who need Yeshua should have Yeshuas. The good dimension of the world should also, the Baruch Shalom should save them. They're his creations as well. And we should continue to be careful. Watch our health. It's a mitzvah d'oraisa. As I keep on saying, and it's important to say, some things are open and you can go and do all kinds of things, but you have to consider age, health, etc. Is it absolutely necessary? Baini, between the time, if you don't have to, you don't have to. Keep yourself safe, keep yourself healthy. You're healthy yid as a geschmacke yid to the Rebbeinu Shalom. Everybody have a wonderful day. Zay gesund. Thank you again to Shmuel and to Yaakov and to all those who participate in making this possible every day. Have a wonderful day.